My name is Ashley, and I'm here today to speak about my experience with the criminal justice system, highlighting its strengths and weaknesses in serving and protecting victims of crimes. I'll focus on the critical issues of bail reform, job protection for survivors of domestic violence, issues surrounding the protection of children, as well as programs and people that were beneficial in helping me transition from being a victim of domestic violence to being a survivor. My journey began when I received a text message from my ex-husband that read, "F you, I'm burning down the house and killing myself." I called the police and fire department, but by the time they arrived, my home was engulfed in flames. An empty gas can was found outside my 3-year-old daughter's bedroom, and damages to the home exceeded $300,000. That day, he was given an appearance ticket and allowed to return to work because in New York State, arson in the second degree is considered a nonviolent crime. As a direct result of the bail reform law, the judge did not have the discretion to consider whether he posed a threat to public safety in deciding whether to hold him. In the following months, he would continue to violate my order of protection, threaten to kill me, and destroy another $20,000 of property. Several police reports were filed, but no action could be taken. People may ask, didn't you see this coming? Or why didn't you leave? But I had left because I did see it coming. But as anyone who has tried to leave an abusive relationship can tell you, the systems currently in place do not make it easy. Concerns over custody, residency for school districts, and financial constraints made maintaining my children's safety nearly impossible. The system failed us by refusing to work proactively. Prior to the fire, I had reported his escalating behavior and filed for emergency custody 3 times. I knew that the children were not safe in his care, and I was begging the courts to put a custody arrangement in place to protect them before something terrible happened. The court denied my pleas until it was too late. During this time, we were forced to relocate for our safety twice. The McKinney-Vento law allows students to remain enrolled in their home district while residing elsewhere by meeting certain criteria for homelessness. McKinney-Vento would have been instrumental in protecting us had it identified domestic violence as a reasonable cause for relocation. The opportunity to speak today allows me the privilege to advocate for the addition of domestic violence on the list of qualifying criteria for McKinney-Vento. This small change would be invaluable to other survivors. Multiple criminal court appearances would allow him to remain out of custody while I was pleading for him to be brought to jail. These appearances were scheduled weeks in advance, allowing plenty of time to carry out the death threats I had received. On court days, I would meet with Mary. She would coordinate with Willow and deputies inside to keep me safe. Mary went above and beyond to assure my safety on these days. This is just one example of the invaluable knowledge and support she provided me. During this time, we were also battling in family court regarding him having contact with my children. The man charged with arson who was making death threats was eventually allowed the privilege of attending court appearances virtually, while the victim of the crime was drawing extensive resources to attend. Bail reform does not free up resources for the benefit of our community, but rather compromises public safety and forces redistribution of resources. Despite my endless attempts to prevent him from having contact with my children, citing safety concerns and the mental health of my children, the first court-ordered visit occurred that summer, only a few months after he set the fire. Reunification has become the sole focus in cases where children have been removed from a biological parent. Lawyers and judges repeatedly recite studies recommending reunification of children with parents, and they force it upon families in spite of all the facts of the cases in front of them. Only 6 visitation days later, the order had been officially suspended for safety concerns. Reunification and bail reform should be looked at on a case-by-case basis, taking into consideration all factors and making an informed decision with the best interests of children in the forefront. The current goal of reunification at all costs puts children in situations that are detrimental to their physical and mental health and safety. 11 months after committing arson, he walked out on the judge during a court appearance. He got into his car, drove it straight into the front door of the house in an act of defiance, and threatened to kill the contractors working inside. It was only at this point that he would step foot in Monroe County Jail. Disrespecting the judge somehow carried more weight than committing arson and threatening to kill somebody. Another understated injustice to victims is the enormous financial burden. In the end, I would pay out nearly $50,000 in attorney's fees while he was provided with a court-appointed attorney paid for with my tax dollars. 16 months after setting the fire, he was finally sentenced to a mere 2 to 6 years in prison. Considering time already served in jail while he awaited sentencing, good behavior while incarcerated, and New York State policies regarding minimum time served, he is due for parole this August. By then, he will have served only 18 months behind bars, hardly more time than it took to convict him. Upon his potential release, he will be entitled to petition the court for visitation with the children, and if I have learned anything throughout this process, it is that more than likely his request will be granted. The sad and scary reality is that the current laws and policies in place are better suited to perpetuate the cycles of trauma and abuse rather than end them. Although the above outlines only a small portion of the many obstacles I encountered as a victim of a crime, I want to switch my focus to some of the positives that I experienced and thank some of the people and programs that assisted me during the scariest time of my life. The first person I think of when I recount these events is the Monroe County Sheriff Deputy who approached me when I arrived at the scene. He gave me 2 pieces of advice that were instrumental in maintaining our safety. He knew that the pending charges would not be enough to hold him, and he told me to get an order of protection for myself and my children right away. His second piece of advice was to call Mary, the crime victim specialist who could help me. I'm thankful that that officer could see the big picture that day beyond the scene in front of him and that he knew where to send me. Mary, the crime victim specialist who assisted me with obtaining the order of protection, safety planning, accompanying me to court cases, and for her continued support. Willow's Court Advocacy Program, who coordinated with Mary to help get me and my partner in and out of court appearances safely. The Brockport Police Department, who escorted me to pick up my children from school and daycare on days when my safety was at risk. Their ability to escort me discreetly maintained not only my safety, but also my dignity during those difficult times. Judge D'Onofrio, who listened, asked questions, and kept us safe. My attorney, Chris, who provided support far and beyond what was required. I walked away from this experience with the means and ability to start over because of him. My supervisor, Jen, who was willing to work with me while I dealt with the aftermath of the fire. My coworkers who picked up where I left off, and my employer who provided a generous PTO package, which allowed me to care for myself and my children when neither the New York State Paid Family Leave Program or the Family Medical Leave Act were able to assist me. My dad, my family, and friends who started a GoFundMe to help cover the cost of some of the legal expenses, and who helped pack up and move twice and kept my spirits up. My children for being the bravest and most resilient kids on earth. And last but not least, my partner Tyler, who was my greatest support. He helped me dig through ashes, rebuild, and heal. He's a social worker in the mental health field, and his employer did not permit him to attend today. Ironically, he was mandated to attend a training about trauma-informed care instead. It's truly a shame that an employer whose mission statement vows to protect the mental health of all New Yorkers and to provide hope and recovery does not recognize the importance of today for crime victims. This reminds me how lucky I am to work for a company that does. Today, myself and my children, who are now 5 and 7, are whole again. We have built a strong family unit, my partner being the only father that they know. I have learned the phrase, hope is a social gift, and it is. We were lucky enough to have had an army of support behind us while we fought. Thank you.